everyone's brains light up when you're engaged in music. I knew it was good and I could see it was good, but I wanted the science. It feels now like everything was heading to this, that this is what I was put on this planet for.
We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather today, the Noongar Wadandi Mort. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging.
Scratch the surface and everyone has a story. Welcome, Kaya, to the Wisdom of Women.
Often journeys are like wandering paths. As we play many roles, we take unexpected turns and we face many different challenges.
Today's guest is an example of that, how there is hope that we can all find our niche. Welcome, Jackie Ross.
Thank you.
Hi.
Thanks.
Yeah, welcome along, Jackie. Now, your niche, of course, what you have found after a few decades is around music therapy. And
Yes.
I'm really excited to talk about this subject today because the enormous power of music is quite breathtaking. So let's go into what is music therapy.
Okay. So music therapy is a way of helping people achieve their maximum health and well-being through using the brain's natural reaction to music for therapeutic effect.
So how,
In a nutshell.
in a nutshell, I like that. That's layman's terms. We can understand that. The far-reaching power of music, though, is actually quite phenomenal in the impact that it does have. When do we first start recognising music? Because this is right
in the
within-
womb.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, we're pretty confident with about 4 or 3 months to go before baby's born, they're hearing sounds. And so if music is part of that sound profile, then those songs will be, or that sound will be familiar to the baby when they're born. And when we hear music that we're familiar with, it takes our brain from flight or fight, and it puts us in a very calm state where everything works properly. So that's basically what's going on. I actually discovered this for myself without knowing the science behind it when my eldest was in gestation and then born. So having been a music teacher for many, many years, I thought I better actually write a song because I've taught people how to do it, but I've never done it myself.
I love that. Yeah.
So I wrote some songs to him, and there was one particular song that I would sing over and over because it was quite catchy. And that was while I was pregnant with him. And then when he was born, it was a cesarean delivery, and he was a bit upset and he was crying, and I just instinctively sang that song and he quietened down instantly. Now, I didn't know until literally decades later that that is a music therapy technique, because we're calming the brain by providing familiarity, predictability. Music's very regular. We kind of know what comes next. We learn that very, very quickly. You don't have to have heard a piece of music for very long at all to start getting the gist of what comes next. And when then our brains kind of go, oh, I think I know what comes next. And then they hear what comes next and they go, oh, aren't I clever? Oh, good. Everything's cool. Everything's fine with the world. Yep, I can just breathe and relax and be calm.
It's amazing. So from what I understand as well, that in utero, when babies are recognising and having that memory, it actually puts them a little bit ahead as well as far as their
most
cognitive.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that where the idea of if you play the piano music and all that the'll be smarter?
The classical child.
Well,
Is it true?
to a degree, yes. So there is a difference in the structure of the brain of a human who has been engaged in music making before the age of 12. The brain structure is different and it's
Really?
more developed in some areas. And if that has then extended to them playing an instrument, there'll be also particular areas of strength. So, for example, a violin player will have a particularly strong little finger zone in the brain, if you like, because on the violin that has to be incredibly mobile, whereas in daily life we tend to just move these two fingers together, so the ring finger and the little finger, but a violin player has to have a lot of independence in that. Same piano players, all their fingers have to be equally as strong and independent, so that forms new neural pathways in the brain.
What about a clarinet player?
Well, I'm a clarinet player too. So
Oh, shared.
I'm sure we've got strengths that just, they just take us into a whole new realm because it is the coolest instrument.
Yes.
And then we could go down the path of personality types playing certain instruments because I think
You are drawn to it depending on personality type.
I believe that because I think as a clarinet player, and it sounds like Sid plays clarinet as well, so I think, we can sometimes take the lead, but we're also very happy to be in an accompanying role. We don't have to be at the front, but we're very happy to be there supporting everything else that's going on because I think in music, clarinet often just fits in that kind of, middle-ish area. We're very important. We're crucial to the whole thing, but we don't need all the glitz and
And I
fanfare.
noticed when I was in band, I would always be like clarinet 3 or 4 in this beginning, and then I went to clarinet 1 and I was right at the end. I'm like, oh my God, this is so good as well.
You've made it.
Yes.
So you got both. Yeah, there you go. So that's a whole other topic.
There you go. That is a whole nother topic because we could then focus on parts of a band.
Well, that's true.
Guitar players and drummers.
Well, that just brings up. I know that's a whole
nother
nother area.
So it comes down to it though, clearly, playing music when you are pregnant, before your baby's even arrived, has such great benefits as well. And then as younger children.
The other thing about music is that there's not one place in the brain for music, whereas for receiving speech, there's one area. For generating speech, there's an area. For music, there's not an area. It's across the whole brain and across all the structures. So even someone who's nonverbal and supposedly not able to communicate, if you scan their brain while they're listening to music, the whole brain will light up. Everyone's brains light up when you're engaged in music. And if that's also performing music and playing music, well, then that's just tapping into even more centres. And so that's why it's really difficult to wipe music out of the brain. Music just gives us so much more information because it's quite easy to blank out someone's voice. Like, if I talk for too long, you'll see it just becomes blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Once you attach melody to that, though, you're giving so much more information, and that's again why children latch onto melody so quickly because there's just so much more information there for them.
Yeah.
And so again, if someone has a brain injury, if that brain injury happens to have occurred in the area where they generate speech, they're not going to be able to speak again. But if you can engage them with music, then they can still engage with music.
There's still a communication pathway.
Yeah, because it's so widespread in the brain. And again, you will have seen the footage of people on YouTube, with dementia.
Yeah.
Music stays right through until the very end of our human existence, even in really, really severe brain damage. So, and that's powerful because also that can, at the hospital in my work, I often will get sent into a room to prime people before so like, for example, if someone is having a cognitive assessment, the physios and the OTs might send me in first to kind of work with the person because then they feel that they're getting that person at their absolute best.
Right.
Right. Because it just wakes up all the areas of the brain. And so then they can go in and do their assessment and then they know, okay, this is what we're working with and this is how we can best help this person because they feel that they've seen them at their best.
Amazing.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I did my year 12 to music.
Oh,
My best friend she played piano, organ and clarinet, and her auntie was a music teacher who was really big into Suzuki method in the 80s.
Yeah.
And so I stole a bit of that because I wasn't a musical instrument player. And I would study year 11 and 12 only to music.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it helps.
Yeah.
And I even do it now
Yeah.
when I have to have something on.
Yeah.
My son, when he was born, I did that gestational thing of playing music to him. And then when he was born, he won't go to sleep without music. Even now at 15, he won't go to sleep without music on. It's not the music I would play him. It's a lot of modern stuff.
Yeah.
Bit gross. But back in the when he was a baby, it was classical lullabies.
Yeah.
That would drift him off to sleep, and they stay in the brain. It stays in his brain. But the education part of it was really important to me because it just triggers things, and then I would remember. So if I had an exam, I would remember, and it just kind of went into my brain.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. I've been reading as well about the incredible power of it, and we see it being used in various aspects, even down to like sea shanties, where traditionally it was seamen were out there doing their job. And it motivated them and it coordinated them. And they talk about how, in fact, it often increased their physical strength as well when they're all
really?
together.
That's
And so this
interesting.
is the use of
amazing.
sea shanties. And then you talk about, in the defence forces as well, when they're drilling, it's another way of creating a coordination between people and that whole sense of timing, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
So
Incredible.
basically what's going on there is, they call it entrainment. It's comes from the very base of the brain at the back. It's one of the earliest parts of the brain to develop, and we entrain to rhythm instinctively. You don't need to think about it, it just happens. So, for example, if you're walking down the street and someone's walking near you in very clacky high heels, it's actually quite difficult to not synchronise with that, just because that's our instinct. So that's exactly what's going on in the military. It's motivational. It's incredibly effective. People who suffer from Parkinson's disease, for example, they can often start to experience trouble initiating movement. But if you give them a count, so if you go 3, 2, 1, go, it's much easier for them, because if you think of it this way, if I just say to you, okay, pick up that glass, you've got an infinite number of choices as to when that's going to happen. But if I say to you, okay, you're going to pick up that glass on the count of 4, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4. You've kind of got prepared for it and you're ready to go. And the choices have gone from infinite down to a much narrower choice.
It's a trigger, isn't it?
Yeah, and the brain likes that. Like the brain likes organisation, and it likes to be kind of, told what to do and given boundaries. Yeah. So cool, totally cool.
So using it in the hospital environment, calming. Effect. And healing. Let's talk about the healing aspect of it.
Well, again, when we're hearing music that is very familiar to us, so that's always my when I'm going into a room, I will have already read the patient's notes. I'll have an idea of what they're experiencing, why they're in hospital. I'll know their age. So I'll have a ballpark of appropriate music, because for most people the music that we prefer is from when we were aged between 16 and 25. We call it the reminiscence bubble.
Okay.
So at that age, typically you're recognising yourself as a contributing person to society, and you know yourself as a human. You're starting to exert your own independence and all the rest. You probably haven't yet got kids, so you're not into listening to hours and hours of everybody clap.
Yeah.
You're not into that yet, but you might have your first bit of disposable income, so you can choose how you spend your money. And so that tends to be the music that also you might fall in love for the first time. You might have your heart broken.
You associated all with those
So when you hear a song from that period, you don't just think, oh, that's a song I know. You think, oh my gosh, I remember when I heard that song and I was wearing that gorgeous dress, and I'd been to the hairdresser and my hair just looked just so, and the flutter in your heart or whatever it was, it all comes back.
Yeah.
And so if you're an older person and you're hearing that, you also experience that vitality, however you were feeling physically at that time, that also comes back. So so you'll see someone who hears a familiar piece of music and they might be, kind of slumped over like this. And then you play something that they know and that they associate with movement, and straight away the posture improves because now they're in that mindset.
Was it you sitting talking about the video that you watched of an older person?
Yeah, so a grandson came to a nursing home. His grandfather was in, and he had dementia.
Yep.
And he didn't really speak, or he wasn't really there. And then he played "We'll Meet Again" from War Times, and he would start singing and everything, and it was so beautiful.
Yeah.
And again, the lyrics and everything, they're retained in the brain. Spontaneous speech is more challenging because we have to kind of find that somewhere. But when you're just recalling it's again, the brain has stored that. It's there. I often like to think that it's like, especially an older person, they've got a really big library of memories. And sometimes the memories haven't been touched for a while. So there's a bit of dusting off to be done.
Yeah, okay.
But once you open that up, it brings it all back. It just floods back. And that's beautiful. That's a really beautiful story. And and it happens. It looks miraculous when it happens. But, someone who supposedly can't speak, but there's actually nothing wrong with their ability to speak. It's just
finding,
tapping
into that
tapping
memory.
into,
I suppose it's no secret why then, as far as advertising goes, now we have all
jingles.
those little jingles.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Again, you can blank out the voice, but once you could put a
the
melody
jingle.
to it, yep.
They're
it's
clever.
stuck.
They know. They know what's going on, don't they?
Especially Christmas time.
My three kids could always hammer out the writing hotline.
Okay.
Kudos to them. That was a great
1300
success.
65506.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
you go.
there you go.
Fabulous. Works well. Yep.
First number I remembered.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good
Incredible.
effort.
Yep. Yeah. So let's talk about your work sort of on a day by day or week by week. What are some of the patients and the uses that you're doing it?
Okay. Well, I just have to say the first thing, or one of the main things I love about my job is that I never know what each day is going to bring. And I love that. I do think I get bored quite easily. So this kind of work just works.
I'm sure there's
ticks all
music
the
for that,
boxes for me.
Jackie.
I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is. So, for example, in one day, we might have little children coming in for some kind of surgery. And in that instance, I would go into the room and offer the family music. And, of course, it would be age-appropriate music. So if they're really little, it might be stuff like, nursery rhymes. If they're a little bit older, it might be things from Let It Go or from Frozen, Moana, Toy Story, that type of stuff. And basically what I'm aiming to do is offer something that's really normal from everyday life that, if you like, reminds everybody that this is a little human being. And yes, today might be very, very stressful for everybody. I'm sure it seems quite unusual for the children because it's like, why are mum and dad here? Like, this is not a normal thing. So everyone's anxiety or everyone's stress level is just a little bit higher. Yeah. So I think you offer music and it's like, oh no, actually, yep, we're still the same people. We can still do the same stuff. Everything will be okay. We've just got to get through today, which might be a little bit tough and a little bit, they just don't know what comes next. Again, music offers them something. They know exactly what comes next. So they can just calm right down.
Do you play music? What do you use?
So in the hospital, I use a guitar.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I didn't know how to play the guitar. I had to learn that to become a music therapist.
So you're just like wandering around the hospital giving acoustic concerts.
I know. It is pretty cool.
Are you?
So little kids, and then I might go onto the ward where people have had surgery. So again, if someone's had surgery, they might have a bit of anxiety associated with reusing, like if they've had a knee done, it might be a little bit stressful, that thought of first putting your foot down on the ground. So again, I just go in and I have the privilege of time. So the nursing staff, they work so hard and they're constantly on the run and they're constantly being pulled in different directions, and they've got to make sure that they get to everybody and they do the absolute best job that they can. I can go in, and for me, I can just, if that person needs 15 minutes, then they get 15 minutes. If they need an hour and 15 minutes, I can be there for them for that period of time. And sometimes really I'm listening, I'm really paying attention to what they say. I'm offering them something that's very personal to them. And so we just go on a little bit of a journey, and sometimes that's all it takes to then help them to regulate their own emotions. So I'm really trying to upskill the person that I'm with to recognise, they might go, oh, actually, I was feeling a little bit tense today, but no, now I feel so much better. Because again, it's a distraction, takes their minds off things. Just hopefully, I also am very aware of how people are, like their posture, how they're breathing. You can sense when someone's energy is really quite high and they're, a little bit agitated. So then I would purposefully, even if they asked for example, if they asked for, I don't know, We Will Rock You, for example.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I wouldn't play a full-on rock version of that. I would change
calming
it. I would
version.
calm it down. I would play it slower. If they started singing along, I might have to change the key to make sure that it was actually at a key that they could sing
Oh,
in.
you're so accommodating. That's
And
good.
well, that's the whole thing. I'm there for them. It's not about me.
Yeah.
I'm not there to perform. That's kind of irrelevant. It's using the music to help them. And then I might go on to the medical ward, and there might be people who've been in hospital for a very, very long time, and they just need something to kind of, if you like,
Fair comment.
maybe take their minds off what's going on, just the fact that they're still there to relieve the boredom, to reminisce about great times. And then I do spend quite a lot of time on the palliative ward. And so, again, I'll work with people who know that they have a life-limiting condition. They might just want to reminisce on all the beautiful, lovely occasions in their life. We might do that together. They might just want to relax, in which case they just chill out. We do like an induction, a relaxation, and then I would improvise and just play music that they don't have any association with. But it would, again, I would still make sure that the music had the predictability into it so that they could start to relax in the music. But, yeah, sometimes people don't want words. They don't actually want music that's got any associations from them, but they're quite happy to listen to music. It's a very intimate thing to provide live music for a person, this close to them. And then there are other people who want to encapsulate where they are now and perhaps what they've learnt over the extent of their lives, something to leave behind. So we call that legacy work. So we might write a song. So I remember one woman who was during COVID, and she had grandchildren in Queensland who she knew she was not going to get to see again. And so I sort of said, well, if you could talk to them, if you could leave something for them, or what would you say? And so then we just talked about all of those ideas, just did a big brainstorm, and then started bringing those ideas together. And then I would say, do you want to put this in a song? And offer her, what style would you like? And then I'd suggest, sort of give her an example and say, is that what you like? And then she'd say yes. And,
What a beautiful legacy.
It is wonderful. And I've been really fortunate, so many stories, but, one particular gentleman, I worked with him for a very, very long period of time. I actually started working with him when I was volunteering at St John's during my training. And he started writing this great song, and he really went with it. And usually I try and finish it in the session because, the person might go home the next day. Because even in palliative care, people don't come to hospital to die. Sometimes they're coming in because they just need to get their medication under control so that then they can go back home. So they might be in and out of palliative care for many years. So this particular gentleman, he really engaged with the songwriting process, and each time I'd come back, he'd go, well, that was great what we did last time, but can we do this now? And what about this? And in the end, he ended up singing the whole song. And after he had died, the family actually asked could they use it to play during the photo tribute at his funeral. I know.
Oh, that's just beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful.
So, and, I'm so privileged to have so many stories like that, and people are just really generous. They, it's not for everybody, and that's absolutely fine. But for the people who it does meet their needs, it's just a really, really beautiful space to work in.
When did music therapy become such a recognised form of therapy?
Good question. Back after the First World War in the UK, so in England, returning servicemen were disconnected from reality because of their experience and, the horrors and the atrocities that they'd seen. And so they started using a form of music therapy to just assimilate them back into everyday life. And it's been used from then on. So it's huge in the United Kingdom, it's huge in Canada, and it's been in Australia for about 30 years.
Okay.
And growing all the time. We've got, because of people's awareness and people now realise the power. Also, I think people these days are much more open to looking for interventions that don't hurt. They don't have to take drugs. They don't get poked and prodded. And also I think we're great believers in our own ability to heal ourselves music therapy just facilitates our own strengths. And that's the other thing about practicing as a music therapist. We're always working from a strengths-based. So we start with what the person has and what they bring, and then we just try and enhance that.
Oh, it's just beautiful, and I'd like to reflect a little bit too on our experience with music and its impact through your journey, Sid.
Well, I was constantly listening to music when I was going through my depressive state. And of course, it was very sad music during that time, but it was comforting. And as well, during that period, I just couldn't deal with silence. I think that was a trigger for me. And just having that music playing or having noises playing during that time, it just made me feel so much more comfortable and relaxed, especially at nighttime. I played it when I was getting to bed, getting to sleep. And it was something that was very relaxing.
So to us as parents, though, listening to Sid play her music, it really indicated to us what frame of mind she was in, because there was always certain styles or types. And I remember a few times going into her room and just saying, oh, maybe you could listen to something a little bit lighter. That would be nice. It astounded me, though, how it was just so reflective of a person's frame or state, emotional state of mind to what they were listening to at that time. So is there advice, do you think, on how we can use music a little more in our lives? Like, should we be focusing and turning around going, I'm going to go for something snazzy today?
Okay.
Or what is it?
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think if I can just touch on what Sid said about she needed noise. And I think, Jo, that reflects what you were saying about your study as well. We get in a state of flow when we're really engaged with music. And I'd like to touch on the whole concept of flow, if I may, at some time. But basically, it's a state where you just feel really calm and you're in sync and you can't think of anything else. You're just completely immersed in that, and we can get it in all sorts of different ways, and it's unique for each person. But when you're in that state of flow, that's when you feel okay. Now, Kat McFerrin is a researcher from Melbourne University who I was really fortunate for her to be one of my lecturers. She's a similar age to us, and she's just got a really dynamic personality. She kind of, for me, rocked the idea of what I thought a therapist should be, because, you sort of think,
Controlled.
She was nothing like that. She was just off the Richter scale, and I went, okay, so there is a place for, therapists who are a little bit dynamic. But she has done a lot of research into what she calls the healthy and unhealthy use of music. So I have worked quite a bit with adolescents, and what I would try and do in my work is guide the adolescent through talking about music that they like to listen to. And then we would sort of say, well, what is it about that music that you like? And for some, and this is the other thing that sometimes I think parents might get a bit concerned about, for some they'll say, I just love that beat. Like, that beat is so strong, and when I hear that, that's what's talking to me and that's what's moving me. So the lyrics that we might be getting caught up in are actually irrelevant. And even in something like rap, sometimes the lyrics are actually too fast. Sometimes when you're listening to it, you're not necessarily engaging with the lyrics on a close level. It's more that it's just the patter and the banter, and it's just that constant noise coming in, if you like. So it's really important, again, as a therapist to work out, well, what is it about this music that's speaking to this person? And they might just go, I just absolutely love that little riff that comes in, or I used to play the clarinet, and so I love it when that little melody comes in. And it might be something that, not
as opposed to a parent listening.
We never
to
judge.
it.
I remember I actually told you that as well one time when you came in, and I think I was getting a bit annoyed at you coming in and telling me, because a lot of the music I was listening to, I thought it was just a beautiful song. And sometimes songs I listen to, it's just a little part in it that I really enjoy, and so I'll listen to that. And it could have been sad to you, but to me, when I listen to music like that, I'm just focused on the song and listening to these little parts that I really enjoy.
As opposed to a parent, I suppose, listening to it going, oh, Lord, listen to those lyrics.
Well, exactly. So
Oh,
you're choosing to focus on something
Yeah.
different that might not be
Yeah,
what the
actually.
person is
Yeah.
focusing on.
yeah.
But the other thing that I would encourage my clients to be really honest about is it's like, okay, so if for example, they say, I love these lyrics because that's exactly what I'm going through. Like, I've had my heart broken and I want to go and smash windows and all the rest. And I go, okay, so how do you feel now? Have a chat, play the song. How do you feel now? Oh, I feel so cross. Like, I could go and smash a window right now. And I go, okay. And so how do you feel that that's how you want to feel? No, I don't want to feel like that. I want to feel good and positive. I say, okay, so is there another song that maybe if you listen to it might help you to feel the way you want to feel? And then, it can take a while, but eventually the person will go, hey, actually, and I've seen this happen, what song would you like to listen to? Okay, let's listen to this one. And then it'll start and they'll go, that's not a good one for me. Turn it off.
How interesting.
They start
Yeah.
to work
They've
out
moved beyond.
themselves, but just with that little bit of help to realise that, because often, especially if they are connecting to the lyrics, it can just be because it validates what they're feeling and it helps them to know that this is real and I'm not the only person who's experienced this and it's okay to feel this way. And everyone just wants to belong and feel that they've got their place. But over time, as they start to want to heal and want to be in a different direction or, a more positive direction for them, then they might consciously choose pieces. I mean, we all do
Yeah.
it. I'm sure
Yeah.
if I tell this
Oh,
little
I've wallowed in a
anecdote.
breakup.
Exactly.
with
And how many
music.
times do you go,
Yeah.
I'm going to play this song and I know it's going to make me bawl my eyes out. But then you get to the end of it and go, oh, I feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You need a
it's
good
not always
cry.
bad
No.
to
Yeah.
seek that out. You just need a
Yeah.
good cry. And how many times do you watch a movie and from the first second you're going to be bawling and blubbering within a very short space of time. Like, you sit down to watch it with the tissues already
Yeah.
there. But it's because that's actually what you need.
Yeah.
So my job is just to support people to work out what they need and then to facilitate them finding that. And Shauna, you asked about using music. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You can use music to help
Yeah.
you relax. Use music to help you get energized. So someone who's maybe had a stroke needs to get off the couch. We could create a playlist. So again, we talk through it. Let's start with something. You've got to meet them where they're at. You can't just suddenly go, oh my God, I feel like lying on the couch all day, so I'm just going to bash on this great music with lots of energy and it's magically going to transform me. No, it's not. You've got to start where the person is. It's called the ISO principle if you want to look it up. ISO. ISO principle, it just means meet the person where they're at. So again, start with music that's maybe very gentle and then with each subsequent piece just pick it up a little bit and then eventually you might have if they need to go for a walk for 20 minutes, that's what their physio says, then you've got 20 minutes of kind of active music that's at a good pace for them to be walking, and then it would gently wind down again when it's time to return to just lying down or whatever. So you can create playlists for whatever you need.
Very
whatever you need.
empowering, isn't it?
Well,
Very
it is.
empowering to
And
know
we've got
that.
all the tools now.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Spotify.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
it's Spotify. We can go anywhere.
Yeah. So just we can do all this stuff and you can own it. And then if one of those songs you play it and for whatever reason on a day you go, no, actually I don't need that anymore. Just go on.
Yeah, I do that all the time.
Yeah.
If I go on a drive with my dad, I'll
Yeah.
have specific songs that I'm in the mood to listen to.
Yeah.
And if one comes up that I don't want to listen to at the moment, then I'll just skip it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Sid, that also touches on another thing where music can be really, really useful in young families. So you mentioned about babies listening to or hearing music in utero. Then once baby is actually here, music can be a huge assistance to parents with routine. So instead of having to nag your kids to, come on, pick up your toys, clean up your mess, you can have it's time to pick up your toys. It's time to pick up your toys.
There was a time where I wouldn't speak properly. I had and my mum would sing, "Big girl voice using your lips and mouth."
See, there you go. Yeah.
She'd sing it all the time. I'm
See,
like,
she
"Oh,
knew it. Music
man.
therapist in the making.
I knew it.
She said I would have a baby voice, so she would sing that to me
I also used to sing "You Are My Sunshine."
all the time. And I remember, I loved hearing you sing that, especially at night time when you were putting us to bed or something.
So again,
and if
a
you're
bedtime
sad,
song.
Yeah.
I think "Twinkle Twinkle" was often sung in our house,
Yeah,
and ironically,
Yeah.
the boy's dad, they preferred the way he sang it. And he's not actually a singer, but it didn't matter because it was still what they wanted to hear. And I also had I think it was a cassette in those days, that I would put on in the car. So if we were going on a journey in the car, but it wasn't enough time to fall asleep, I wouldn't put it on. If it was just a quick dash to the shops, I wouldn't put it on. If it was a bit longer, going to Perth or whatever, then I'd put that on, and that was like the signal there's enough time to go for a sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it worked. I didn't know. I mean, again, music therapy technique, but I didn't know about that in those days.
Yeah,
so.
it's instinctively though that use
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
can make of music.
Yeah.
And we do instinctively sing.
You would have the normal version of You Are My Sunshine, and then you had the rock version.
Oh, I had my big brass band version
well,
of
there you
You
go.
Are My Sunshine. I won't give it to you today, of course. But yeah, a couple of times when the kids were little going in for tonsil operations, I'd be in the surgery room there, rocking them in my arms, singing them the song while they...
Well, there's a big industry now for white noise, but I think like when you're saying particularly at night, people just can't go to sleep. The mind is too busy. There's too much noise. So you put music on, then it gives you something to focus on. Again, you know, everything's narrowed down. The brain can calm. It knows what comes next. It's very predictable. So you singing a song at bedtime or anytime you want it to comfort.
Yeah.
Because often I will walk into hospital rooms and there's just complete silence. And, you know, none of us are really comfortable with complete silence because it's just there's so much unknown. We don't know what comes next. If you're singing just gently, even if you're humming, because you don't, after a while, you don't have to use the lyrics because everyone knows them. They know the tune and that's enough.
Yeah.
But there's just comfort in that.
Now whenever I hear it, I feel extreme comfort.
Oh,
Whenever I
that's
hear You Are My
That's beautiful.
Sunshine,
Oh, I'm going to be singing that little baby left, right and centre from now on.
There you go.
Woohoo.
There you
Oh,
go.
I love it.
I used to put my son here because he was a refluxy baby who wouldn't sleep, you know, those ones. And I downloaded this PDF, cost me $50. In 2 days, I had him sorted, and it was all things
there you
like
go.
white noise
Yep.
here. So I would sing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, but really low.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because then that's that vibration too, which
and it would calm him right down.
calm,
And I'd keep him here, upright,
Yeah.
like this, and then on his tummy. Even though I was petrified that I was going to kill my son by putting him on his tummy, you know. But on those songs, and then, but the Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star was the one that got him calmed down.
Because it's
going
noisy
to sleep.
inside us. Like
Yeah.
babies have come from a noisy place. Mind you, having said that, you might have seen the clips of like headphones on pregnant bellies. We do not endorse that because we don't actually know how much baby can hear, like the volume. So basically the rule is whatever volume you can tolerate, that's okay for baby. But if you're in what you think is a noisy environment, it will be too noisy for baby as well. So don't put headphones on your belly.
I saw this thing on Instagram, and this lady said I was singing, say, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star to my son, and he's 5, and he's going, Mum, stop singing that. It's so annoying. Should I used to sing that to you when you were in my tummy? Yeah, I hated it then too.
Oh, that's so funny.
You little
Isn't
devil.
that classic? Oh, gosh.
Oh, yeah. Gosh, that is. Jackie, it was a few decades before you came into this wonderful, you know, music. Well, you've always been musical, but tell us a little bit about, just briefly, the journey to coming here, because you're so alive when you talk about your music therapy and you know the role it plays in your life.
Well, it's really a great story because I think it relates then a bit to my whole philosophy on life, if I may.
Yeah.
So I actually wanted to be a music therapist when I was 16.
Is that right?
Now, back then, because as I said, it's only been in Australia for 30 years, so without giving away exactly my age, back then it wasn't
namby-pamby.
It wasn't in Australia, okay? So it wasn't a known thing in Australia. But I'd seen a video of a quite old woman singing to an even older woman in hospital and literally just holding her hands very close to her and just singing probably You Are My Sunshine. And the older lady who was the person being delivered the music was just so animated and joining in with the lyrics, and it just looks like such a beautiful moment. And I looked at that and I thought, that's what I want to do. Oh gosh, I'm going to get emotional. Anyway, I was 16. Thank you. Good idea. I got talked out of it.
Oh,
So
no.
yes, I got talked out of it. And didn't do it. So I ended up pursuing music teaching instead. So I taught and did that, really, really enjoyed teaching for a while. I did end up working with what back in those days we called special needs. And that's when music really, I saw, okay, this is really making a difference. Like music is offering something that everybody can participate in. And that's the thing I love about music as well, is that the better an individual is as part of the whole, the better the whole is. So it's not competitive like in sport. You might want someone, oh, well, he's going to be the goal kicker, so we really want him to be fabulous. But it's like in music, if we're all working together, we all are contributing. It doesn't matter, even if you're the person at the back who plays the triangle at the very end and goes ting, you still matter. And everyone can just be part of it. And I could see this especially in working with, so that the correct term that we use now is neurodivergent. So when you're working with neurodivergent people, they've got masses of ability and varying abilities, but music allows you to find something for everybody. And so I'd done a lot of this work and seen how effective it was. I'd worked with adults in the community who were disconnected, and again, it was effective. I'd worked with people who were suffering from depression. Again, it was effective. And I was like, what's going on here? Like I knew it was good and I could see it was good, but I wanted the science and I wanted to feel like I was on solid ground. So I thought, well, okay. And I'd been watching music therapy develop. So back in the beginning, you had to be in Melbourne to study. So you had to live in Melbourne. So by then I'd already started on my jaunt around Australia, because I am originally from Victoria, but I'd moved away. So that wasn't a goer. Then I had a young family. That wasn't a goer. Then you had to play guitar. I didn't play guitar. That wasn't a goer. So I was like, all these obstacles. And then finally, again, working in education support, I'd been teaching people how to play guitar. And I'd been adapting the guitar. Like I'd changed the tunings of the strings so that when you strum it, you actually got a chord. And I thought, hang on a minute. I was starting to understand how this instrument actually works. Betcha I could play this. So I started teaching myself guitar, and then I went for a few lessons, and then I went, hang on a minute, music therapy, back onto the website. Yes, oh, look, I could do that, and then starting to get all the skills together. Then by then, you had to be up to 8th grade on your principal instrument, and that's clarinet for me. So I had to practice like crazy because it had been a long, long time since I'd played scales and, well, a lot of scales.
Wow.
So I did all of that, and it took me 18 months to get ready to apply. And then I applied, and you had to have psychology as well. So I had to do an online course in psychology. You had to have 3 referees. You had to have, all sorts of stuff. So I did all of that, applied, and then went and did music therapy. So basically had been a teacher for pretty close to 35 years, and then quit work, went back to study full time, because I wanted to show my kids that if you care about something enough and if you're passionate enough about it, go for it, no matter what. And I mean, I was into my 50s when I did that. And, some people might say, oh, what was the point? Just stay in the classroom for the rest of your life. But no, this was really going to make a difference, and this is what I wanted to do. And so then I did music therapy, and here I am, and I've absolutely found my niche. I don't want to do anything else, and I want to keep working. Probably don't want to keep working full time, but I definitely want to keep working until I stop breathing, because it's so good. Just love it.
Oh, you can see it just oozing from you.
And so I feel
beautiful.
like this is the thing that amazes me, and I reckon about life. So at 16, I wanted to do this. And I've made some really bad choices. I've made some dumb choices. I've moved, I've been overseas, I've lived overseas, I've lived in 3 different states in Victoria. I've made all these decisions at intersections which could have taken me in these random directions, but then ultimately it has all come back full circle, and I've done what I originally wanted to do. And I'm so grateful for everything that happened in between, because at 16, if I'd gone straight out of school, back in those days you could do it as a diploma course. So I would have gone straight into a diploma course. I would have done 2 years of training or whatever, and I would have been out, and I would have been a terrible therapist because I would have had no life experience. Now it's you've got to have 1 degree already in either music or psychology. Then you've got to go and do your 2 years masters. You do 640 volunteer hours of practicum, and life experience just adds
so much depth to it, doesn't it?
And I hope I walk into a room and the colour of my hair probably gives a clue that, there's been a bit of water under the bridge here, and there's
Which all just
There's been a
contributes
life.
though so
Well,
much
it does,
to it,
absolutely.
doesn't it?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Apart from the fact that you know so many more generations of music.
Well, that's true. I must admit that does it. It's really the first time in my life that I've felt so validated for being older. It's like, yeah, bring it on, because I know stuff.
Yeah.
And I still will get people will ask me for a song, and I'll go, oh, I don't know that. But my party trick now is to sort of say, I don't know it, but I'm going to learn it for you. Can I come back tomorrow and sing it for you? And then I will go away. And this was one of the things we had to do as part of our training. You'd basically be given a song, and 5 minutes later you had to perform it.
Oh my God.
So, yeah. And so, but again, that's just one of the things that we learn how to do. And and the impact that has on someone, because it's usually an older song. No, not necessarily. No, actually, I did get asked for Peaches from Mario Brothers.
Oh,
really?
Oh my God.
Peaches. Yeah,
Jack
anyway.
Black sang that.
Jack
Oh.
Black, yeah, I did get asked for that one, so I had to go and listen to that one.
Peaches,
But
peaches,
that's
peaches,
it.
peaches.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
The lyrics were quite easy to get, so that was helpful. But yeah, and that just has such a huge impact, and it's really meaningful for people, and I just feel so privileged that they would trust me with their song, because that's what it ultimately is. It's their letting, so it's a great thing.
Do you find that you've come into your own as a woman who's journeyed through all this pathways left and right?
Absolutely. It feels now like everything was heading to this, that this is what I was put on this planet for.
Your boys would be very proud. Your boys would be so proud of you.
Yeah, I think they
it's
are.
Absolutely stunning. Good on you, Jackie.
Thank you.
Nice work. Well, here at the WOW,
Oh, sorry.
we do love a quote, don't we, Joy?
We do. Sorry. Do you have a favourite quote?
Well, I do. So, I've got a couple. I came in with Just Keep Swimming.
We do love that one. That's a
Yeah.
favourite of
It's
ours.
so
isn't it?
important.
Yeah.
I think because sometimes
Another song thing.
Yeah.
As well.
True.
Just keep swimming. Just
Okay.
keep swimming.
Yeah.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
oh gosh, Sid, well done, good work. Okay, again,
Yeah.
connects really deeply because it's so catchy. I've forgotten what I was going to say. Anyway,
Another quote.
You did have one. Did you write it down?
I did. Trust your gut.
Ah.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I was going to say about just keep swimming. So sometimes all we need to do is just keep going. We might not know which direction we're going to go in or what the next, maybe we can see barely the next step. We don't really know, but all you got to do is just keep going. Because one thing, I actually, oh my goodness, I should have put this down as my quote. Years ago, a lovely, lovely lady who I worked with gave me a card, and I remember hearing the story about, and this related to it. So someone had been given a ring, and they said, on the inside of this ring is an inscription, and it will make you the happiest you've ever been, but it will also make you the saddest you've ever been when you read it. And so it's like a parable or whatever. So what does it say? And what it says is, this too will pass.
Oh.
So it doesn't matter how bad things are, it won't stay the same. It will move on, it will change. But also it does mean that even if things are really, really good, it won't stay the same. It will change. And that's our human experience. We've just got to know that there's going to be really, really high highs and there's going to be really, really low lows, and we've just got to keep navigating. We just got to take that next step, just keep going. So that's, for me, that's just keep swimming.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Just made it
Jackie.
very deep compared to this song.
So then trust your gut. Well, that goes without saying, and I know other speakers you've had on this show have said that. The other one that I think is really important for me is that you meet everyone for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And I think that that's worth remembering, because sometimes we might have people in our lives who are maybe not the best for us. But once you have enough hindsight and you can look back on that time, you can go, well, actually, that wasn't a great time, but I met that person for a reason. And now, with the benefit of hindsight, I I can see what the reason was. And it, in the cases that I can think of, having that encounter with that person, which was a horrible thing, then put me on a path to a much better future. And it was only because of that, sort of like a reaction against it, I suppose. You sort of went, well, I'm not going to go for, I'm not going to do that again. And then it takes you in a new direction. Yeah. So,
as you say, it is the life experience, isn't it?
yep.
Yeah, goodness. Jackie, thank you so
Pleasure.
much. I know we could talk for another
Yeah.
hour. Oh,
At least.
yeah.
If you have been affected by the topics in this video, we will leave links below, and for more information if you are interested. And subscribe if you enjoy. And thank you for coming on.
Thanks,
you.
Sid. Thanks so much. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jackie.
And always remember,
Every day.
You are remarkable.